The boathouse door was ajar, swinging slightly in the morning breeze off Lake Washington. That was the first sign something was terribly wrong. Arthur, my late husband, had always been meticulous about locking it. 40 years of marriage, and he'd never left it open. Not once. But Arthur had been gone for 9 months now, taken by a sudden heart attack that left me reeling in our quiet home on Willow Lane. I stood there in my kitchen, coffee mug forgotten in my hand, staring out the window at that open door. The sunlight glinted off the water, but all I could feel was a chill settling in my bones. Little did I know, that open door was the gateway to a nightmare that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. Can you imagine discovering that the people you love most have been hiding a web of lies right under your nose? If you're listening to this, wondering how a simple boat could unravel a lifetime of trust, stay with me. This is my story, Eleanor Thompson, and it's one that still keeps me up at night. Before we continue, please leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and subscribe to Ageless Bold Stories channel. We're creating a community of people who know that our best chapters can happen at any age. Now, back to the story. It was a crisp spring morning in Seattle, the kind where the air smells like fresh rain and pine. I'd woken up early, as I always did since Arthur passed. Sleep didn't come easy anymore. The bed felt too big, too empty. I was 68, retired from my job as a school teacher, trying to fill my days with gardening and walks along the lake. But that morning, as I sipped my coffee, black, just like Arthur liked it, I noticed the boathouse door. It wasn't just open, it was gaping, like a wound. Arthur had built that boathouse himself back in the 80s, a sturdy little structure at the edge of our property where he'd spent countless weekends restoring his pride and joy. A 1950s Chris Craft wooden boat. He'd poured 15 years into it, sanding every plank, polishing the chrome until it shone like a mirror. It was more than a boat. It was our dream for retirement, sailing the Sound, maybe even venturing up to the San Juans for lazy afternoons. "One day, Ellie," he'd say with that warm smile of his, "I'll teach you to captain her properly. We'll chase sunsets together." But Arthur was gone, and so was the boat. I set my mug down with a clatter and stepped outside, my slippers crunching on the gravel path. The lake lapped gently at the dock, but the boathouse was eerily silent. No hum of tools, no classic rock playing from Arthur's old radio. I pushed the door wider, and there it was. Or rather, wasn't. The slip was empty, just a dark oil stain on the concrete floor where the Chris Craft had sat for so long. My chest tightened, like someone had wrapped a band around my ribs. "Breathe, Eleanor," I told myself, echoing the techniques I'd learned from years of dealing with stress. In through the nose, out through the mouth. But how could I breathe when 15 years of Arthur's love and labor had vanished overnight? I wandered to the workbench, where his tools still hung neatly on the pegboard, each outlined in faded marker. His logbook lay open, pages filled with his precise handwriting, notes on varnish coats, engine tweaks, dreams scribbled in the margins. The last entry, dated just weeks before his death. "Almost ready. Can't wait to show Ellie how she handles. Our first sail next spring. Retirement, at last." I closed the book gently, pressing it to my heart. The boathouse still smelled like him. Varnish, wood shavings, that faint tang of lake water. I could almost hear his laugh, see him wiping his hands on a rag, turning to me with that twinkle in his eye. Then, the sound of an engine purred up the driveway. I turned to see Daniel's sleek black SUV pulling in. Leased, of course, because owning things outright wasn't smart anymore, as he'd told me at Thanksgiving. My son, 42 now, stepped out, his shoulders hunched like they always were when he knew he'd messed up. Even as a boy, he couldn't hide it from me. Isabella followed from the passenger side, flawless as ever, Sleek dark hair, designer sunglasses perched on her nose, clothes that screamed money we didn't have. She stood by the car, arms crossed, watching me like I was some exhibit in a museum. Daniel approached slowly, hands shoved in his pockets. "Mom," he started, his voice tentative. I didn't let him finish. "Where's the boat, Daniel?" His jaw clenched. "That's what I came to talk about." "Where is it?" I pressed, my voice steadier than I felt. "I sold it. Yesterday." The words hit like a slap. Sold it? Arthur's boat? The one he'd built with his own hands? The one that held our dreams? "You what?" I whispered, crossing my arms to hide the tremble in my hands. He glanced at the empty boathouse, then at the ground. "I needed the money. Isabella's been planning this Rome trip for ages, networking for her business. I couldn't disappoint her." That tightness in my chest spread like fire. "That was your father's boat. He spent 15 years on it. It was supposed to stay in the family." "It was just sitting there, Mom," he said, his tone defensive. "Dad's gone. You don't even use it." Was. Past tense. Like Arthur was nothing but a memory to discard. Daniel finally met my eyes, and I saw the redness there. Exhaustion. Maybe guilt. "I got $12,000 for it. That's a good price for something that old." $12,000? For a piece of our history? I wanted to scream, to shake him until he understood. But I'd raised him better than that. Instead, I kept my voice level, drawing on all those years of patience in the classroom. "When did you take it?" "Yesterday afternoon. You were at the market." He still had his key to the house, the one from before he moved out, before Isabella. I'd never asked for it back. And Arthur always left the boathouse unlocked. Said he wanted quick access if inspiration struck. "You should have asked me," I said quietly. "Would you have said yes?" "No," I admitted. "I wouldn't have." Isabella sauntered over then, her heels clicking on the gravel. She placed a hand on Daniel's arm, possessive, her nails a perfect scarlet. "Eleanor, we're not here to argue. It's done. The boat's sold. We fly out tomorrow." I turned to her, really looked at her. 2 years married to my son, and she was still a stranger. Where did she come from? What was her story before Daniel? She smiled, but it never reached her eyes. Cold, calculating. "This is between me and my son. I'm his wife," she replied smoothly, like explaining to a child. "What's between you and him is between all of us." Daniel needed that money. The boat was gathering dust. It made sense. "It was his father's," I shot back. "His father is dead," she said flatly. Matter of fact, like stating the weather. "Daniel's building a life now. We both are. You understand that, don't you?" I didn't trust myself to respond. Just stared at Daniel, willing him to see what he'd done. He looked away. Isabella's hand tightened on his arm. "We'll send postcards from Rome," she added, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "The Colosseum, the Vatican. Very romantic." The cruelty in that hit like a knife. Romantic? With Arthur's ghost still fresh? Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "We should go. Packing to do." "Yes," Isabella agreed, tugging him gently. "Early flight." They walked back to the SUV. Daniel glanced over his shoulder once, seeing me there in my slippers. Arms crossed in the boathouse doorway. Then he got in, and they drove off, tires crunching down Willow Lane until they turned the corner. I was alone. The lake breeze picked up, carrying the scent of water and loss. I retreated into the boathouse, standing where the boat should have been. The silence was deafening without it. Dust motes danced in the sunlight streaming through the door. I picked up Arthur's logbook again, flipping to that last entry. His words blurred through my tears. Teaching me to captain our retirement sails. Everything was here. His tools, his radio, his coffee thermos stained from years of use, except the boat. And him. 8 months a widow, and I'd thought the grief was easing. But standing there, holding his logbook, staring at the empty slip my son had created, the tears came hard. I sank to the floor, sobs racking my body. How could Daniel do this? What would Arthur say? The pain cut like a knife, sharp and unrelenting, twisting in my gut. But then, the next morning, everything changed. I'd barely slept, tossing in our old bed, replaying the confrontation. At 7 a.m., the phone rang. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Hello? Mrs. Thompson? This is Harold Jenkins from Jenkins Marine Classics. I have your husband's boat. My heart skipped. What? The Chris Craft? Your son brought it in yesterday. I need you to come down here, right away if possible. There's something Arthur wanted you to know. I sat up straighter, confusion mixing with hope. I don't understand. Arthur was a good friend. I was at his funeral, but I couldn't bring myself to talk then. I'm sorry. Please. Can you come? I vaguely remembered him. A gray-haired man in the back row, slipping out early. He gave me the address. A marina on the east side of Seattle in the industrial district. I'll be there in half an hour. I dressed quickly, jeans, a sweater, sensible shoes, and drove across town. Traffic was light, the Space Needle looming in the distance like a sentinel. I passed the old school where I'd taught for 35 years, the parking lot filling with cars. The marina was all gleaming boats and metal buildings, rows of vintage crafts behind a fence. Harold stood waiting outside, mid-60s, jeans and a flannel shirt, his eyes red-rimmed. Mrs. Thompson, thank you for coming. He shook my hand, his grip firm but trembling. You're Harold? Yes. Your husband saved my life 20 years ago. He paused, looking at the ground. I needed a loan to start this place. Banks laughed me out the door. Bad credit, no collateral. Arthur co-signed for me, risked everything for a guy he barely knew from the boat shows. He never mentioned it, I said softly. That's who he was. I paid it all back. But the debt? It went deeper. Harold wiped his eyes. When Daniel brought that Chris Craft in, I recognized it immediately. Arthur showed me photos every time we met, proud as punch. Told me about the restoration, bit by bit. Daniel said he sold it. He did. To me. Harold looked pained. Your son had no clue what it was worth. I asked if he knew. He said $12,000 seemed fair. My stomach dropped. What's it really worth? Around $150,000. It's a rare 1950s model, restored to perfection. Museum quality. $150,000? The number spun in my head. Daniel had thrown away a fortune. For a vacation? I sank onto a nearby bench, the world tilting. Harold sat beside me. I bought it because he was desperate, babbling about Rome with his wife. But Mrs. Thompson, that boat was never mine to keep. Why tell me now? Because Arthur made me promise, about a year ago. He stood, offering his hand. Come inside. There's something you need to see. He led me into the cavernous garage, white floors, bright lights, boats under covers. He pulled back one, revealing the Chris Craft, its wooden hull gleaming like new. I approached slowly, trailing my fingers over the varnish. It felt like Arthur. Solid. Warm. I opened the cabin door, sat in the captain's seat. The leather smelled of polish and memories. Harold leaned in. A year ago, Arthur asked me to help install a hidden locker. Said if anything happened to him, make sure you found it. Why? My heart pounded. He said it was for your eyes only. Harold showed me the release. Press here, twist there. A panel behind the dashboard popped open, revealing a dark compartment. He stepped back. I didn't look inside. This is yours. Alone with the boat, I reached in. My hand brushed paper, a thick manila folder. Beneath it, a sealed envelope with my name in Arthur's handwriting, and at the bottom, a small key in a velvet pouch. I opened the envelope first, tears blurring the words, dated 10 months before his death. Ellie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I kept this from you. You would have wanted to face it together, but I had to protect you until I had proof. I've been investigating Isabella for 12 months. Her real name is Elena Voss. She's done this before, at least twice that I've uncovered. The folder has everything: photos, documents, contacts for her previous victims. Their stories match, targeting men with aging parents, family assets. She's after our lake house, Ellie. That's her pattern. Convince Daniel you're failing, need care, sell the property, then vanish with the cash. I confronted her subtly once, watched her reaction. She's slick. Daniel's blind to it. He won't believe without ironclad evidence, and I'm not there yet. The key is for our safe deposit box at First Seattle Bank, number 312. Inside are bonds I bought in the 90s for a colleague's startup. Check the value. You're secure. Harold knows to call if the boat moves. Trust him. Protect yourself. Protect our son. He's a victim too. I love you. Always protecting you. Arthur. My hands shook as I read it twice. Arthur knew? He had spent his last year digging into Isabella, Elena, alone, to shield me? Rage exploded within me, hot and fierce, aimed at her, at Daniel's blindness, at the world for taking Arthur before he could finish. How dare she worm into our family? What kind of monster preys on grief like this? I opened the folder. Photos. Elena at weddings with different men. Older. Vulnerable. Marriage certificates. Elena Voss to Victor Hale, Chicago, 2018. Elena Voss to Marcus Reed, Boston, 2020. Clippings. Man loses family farm in suspected scam. Inherited business sold amid fraud allegations. Arthur's notes. Dates of her questions about our house, my health, our finances. Contacts. Victor in Chicago, Marcus in Boston. His final scribble. Need concrete proof before telling Daniel. He's too in love. If I'm gone, finish this. Save our boy. The third high point hit then. My heart shattered, pieces scattering like glass. Sobs tore from me, deep and raw, echoing in the garage. Arthur had carried this burden, dying with it unfinished. For us. Harold returned quietly. He was protecting you, even from beyond. I wiped my face. I need to call these men. Learn what she did. Use my office. Take your time. As I sat there, folder in hand, staring at the evidence, I felt a storm brewing. But where would it lead? Would Daniel believe me? Or would this tear us apart forever? If you've ever uncovered a family secret that changed everything, drop a period in the comments. Let me know you're here. What would you do in my shoes? Share one word. Confront or wait. And if this story's hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button and bell. Part 2 drops soon, with twists that'll leave you breathless. Don't forget to like if it moved you, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Stay tuned. The storm's just beginning. I never imagined that a simple key, tucked away in a velvet pouch, could unlock not just a bank box, but the strength I'd need to fight for my family. There I was, 68 years old, sitting in Harold's cluttered office at the marina, the scent of salt water and engine grease seeping through the door, staring at Arthur's handwriting on that envelope. My hand still trembled from the shock of his letter, the revelation that Isabella, my daughter-in-law, was a fraud named Elena Voss, preying on vulnerable families like ours. But as the tears dried on my cheeks, a fire ignited inside me. What would you do if you discovered your loved one had been secretly protecting you from a predator in your own home? Would you crumble or rise up? If you're with me so far, wondering how far this web of deceit spun, hang on. This is Eleanor Thompson continuing my story, and Chapter 2 is where the real storm hits. Harold's office was a cozy mess, stacks of boat catalogs on the desk, a faded photo of him and Arthur at a boat show pinned to the wall. He brought me a glass of water, his eyes kind but worried. "Take your time, Eleanor. That phone's all yours." I nodded, my voice steadier than I felt. "I have to start with these contacts. Victor Hale in Chicago. He's the first one Arthur listed." Harold leaned against the doorframe. "Arthur mentioned a private investigator he worked with. Laura Simmons. Sharp as a tack. Ex-cop. Want me to call her after?" "Yes," I said, dialing Victor's number with fingers that barely cooperated. The phone rang 3 times, each one echoing in my chest like a drumbeat. Finally, a weary voice answered. "Hale Residence." "Mr. Hale? This is Eleanor Thompson from Seattle. I'm calling because, well, my son is married to a woman I believe you knew as Elena Voss." A long silence stretched across the line, heavy as lead. Then a sigh, deep and resigned. "I figured this day might come. How'd you find me?" "My husband. He investigated her before he passed. Left me your name." Victor paused, and when he spoke, his words came slow, like pulling teeth. "Sit down if you're not already. This ain't easy to hear." I was already sitting, but I gripped the desk anyway. Victor was 55, a widower when he met Elena at a community fundraiser in Chicago back in 2018. She was charming, attentive, said she volunteered because she cared about family legacies. They dated, married within months. His father, in his 80s, lived on the family farm just outside the city, a place full of memories. Elena started subtle. "Your dad's getting forgetful, Victor. Noticed how he misplaced his keys last visit?" Little comments, planted like seeds. She'd leave articles about elder falls, dementia signs, where he could find them. Before I knew it, Victor said, his voice cracking, I was seeing problems that weren't there. Normal aging looked like a crisis. "Elena found this upscale nursing home, the best care money can buy," she said. $15,000 a month. Only way to pay? Sell the farm. He convinced his father it was for safety. Sold the 50-acre plot for $250,000, land his family had held for generations. The money went into a joint account. 2 weeks after his dad moved in, Elena vanished. Cleaned out every cent, changed her number, gone like smoke. "My old man died 6 months later," Victor whispered, and I could hear the raw pain like it was yesterday. Kept asking when he'd go home, but there was no home left, and no money to buy one back. He was sharp as ever, Eleanor, just a bit slower. Didn't need that place. He needed his land, his routine. My throat tightened. "I'm so sorry." "Document everything," he urged. "She'll start with you next. Comments about your health, your house being too much. Don't let her gaslight you." We talked a bit more, his story mirroring Arthur's notes. When I hung up, my hands were cold, clammy, but I couldn't stop. I dialed Marcus Reed in Boston next. Marcus answered on the first ring, his voice brisk but tired. "Reed here." I introduced myself. Same script. Another sigh. "Elena Voss." "Yeah, I've been waiting for a call like this." Marcus was 59, met her at his mother's funeral in 2020. Elena claimed she was there supporting a friend, offered condolences, shared her own loss stories. They bonded over grief. Dated fast, married 8 months later. His inheritance, a small jewelry business his mother ran for 40 years in downtown Boston. "Elena said it was too much for me to handle alone," Marcus explained. "Too many memories, too stressful." "Sell it," she said. "We'll travel, heal, start fresh." Made sense at the time. I was drowning in sorrow. Sold for $180,000, Joint account. Days after the funds cleared, she disappeared. Traced her to Brazil via credit trails, but the money was laundered, gone. She researches you first, Marcus warned. Knows your weak spots before hello. If your son's giving her access to your finances, stop it now. Hanging up, the room spun. Two men, two ruined lives, patterns identical to what Arthur feared for us. My chest ached, a deep, throbbing pain. How had I missed the signs with Isabella? The casual questions about our house value, my tired spells. Arthur saw it all, carried it alone to spare me. Tragic irony that. Harold poked his head in. How'd it go? Like a nightmare confirmed. I showed him Arthur's notes. You mentioned Laura Simmons? He nodded, dialing her number. Laura, it's Harold. Got Eleanor Thompson here, Arthur's wife. Yeah, it's time. Laura agreed to meet that afternoon at a coffee shop near the marina. But first, the key burned in my pocket. I need to hit the bank. First Seattle, box 312. The drive downtown felt endless. Seattle's traffic a snarl of cars and rain-slicked streets. The bank was bustling. Friday rush. People depositing checks, living normal lives. I requested the safe deposit box. The manager, a kind woman about my age, leading me to the vault. The key slid in smoothly. Inside, a single envelope, thick with papers. Arthur's note on top. Ellie bought these bonds in the 90s as a favor to a colleague starting a tech firm. $4,000 investment. Forgot about them until last year. Looked up the value, nearly fell over. This is security, for you, our future. If you're reading this from the box, something happened. Sell when ready. Travel. Live well. Stay independent. Don't let anyone push you otherwise. You're taken care of. Love, Arthur. I handed the bonds to the manager. What are they worth now? She tapped at her computer, eyes widening. Mrs. Thompson, these have matured nicely. Current value, approximately $280,000. The number hit like a wave, knocking the breath from me. $280,000? From a forgotten favor? I sat hard on a chair, the manager fetching water. Arthur had left me a fortress, financial independence to fight whatever came. But the joy was bittersweet. He'd hidden this too, protecting me even in death. Back at the marina, I met Laura at the coffee shop. A no-nonsense woman in her 50s, short gray hair, sharp eyes like a hawk. She had a folder ready. Arthur was a gem. Hired me quietly last year. Made me promise not to contact you unless she moved against you. She spread printouts. Isabella's digital trail. Under aliases, she'd been on elder care forums, asking about convincing stubborn seniors they need help. Browsing assisted living sites near Seattle. Worse, 3 credit cards in Daniel's name, $28,000 in debt, designer goods, luxury hotels, Rome bookings. She's building the dream life first, Laura explained. Rome's phase 1, make him feel the pinch of not enough. Next 2 months, health concerns about you. Eleanor's forgetting things, looking frail. Phase 3, 4 to 6 months. Case for assisted living. Phase 4, sell the lake house. Worth what? $400,000 paid off? About that, I murmured. Her take. Over $300,000 easy. Police can't act yet. No crime here. But we're building the case. I nodded. Resolve hardening. Daniel's back from Rome soon. I'll watch. Days blurred. I journaled everything. Isabella's past comments, subtle digs. Then, a week later, Daniel called. Mom, we're home. Mind if we come for dinner Tuesday? Of course, I said, playing normal. But my heart raced. Tuesday evening, I made Arthur's favorite. Lasagna, garlic bread, salad. They arrived tanned, Daniel looking worn despite the vacation, lines etching his forehead. Isabella, impeccable in new silk, likely from that debt, Hugs at the door. Daniel's lingering. Isabella's perfunctory. At the table she dominated. Rome's wonders. The Forum. 5-star hotel. It opened our eyes, she said, eyeing me, to what we deserve. Daniel works so hard, we should live bigger. Past the salad, I thought. But then, Eleanor, this house is huge for one person. Ever thought about downsizing? Something easier like assisted living, for safety, the stairs, the lake maintenance? There it was, the opening salvo. My blood boiled, but I smiled. I'm managing fine. This is home. Daniel nodded vaguely. We worry, Mom. Alone here. We, not I. Her words in his mouth. After dinner, coffee in the living room. Isabella excused herself. Bathroom. 10 minutes passed. I slipped upstairs, found her in Arthur's study, rifling drawers. The bathroom door wide open, empty. She jumped. Oh, got lost. This place is a maze. Bathroom's downstairs, I said coolly. Always has been. She laughed it off. Too much wine. But her eyes sharpened. They left soon after. Take care, Isabella cooed. Daniel hugged tight. Love you, Mom. Next morning, I called Daniel. Come over, alone. About your father. Something I found. What's this about? Just come. He arrived at 3, tense. I had the letter folder on the kitchen table. Sit. He eyed them warily. If this is about the boat, read. I handed Arthur's letter. Color drained from his face. Dad investigated Isabella? This is crazy. He never liked her. Look at the proof. Photos, certificates spread out. Could be fakes. Anyone with that name. Call them. Victor? Marcus? Ask. He paced, angry. Insane. She loves me. Prove us wrong. Call. He stormed out, slamming the door. Hours later, midnight, my phone rang. Daniel. Voice shattered. Mom. I called them, both. What did they say? Everything. The farm, the business. Same story. Sobs. I confronted her. Asked about her past. Stories changed. Then the cards. She packed. Called me weak. Left. Stay put. Calling Laura. Laura tracked her. Airport hotel, Madrid flight booked. Real name, Fiona Grant. Wanted in multiple states for fraud. Elena Voss. Stolen ID from a deceased woman. Daniel gave his statement. Forged cards. We met police at the airport, 4 a.m., watched from afar as they approached her in line. Fiona Grant, the detective said. She froze, then bolted. Luggage abandoned, heels flying. Tackled near gates. Suitcases. $42,000 cash. Fake passport. Hard drive of schemes. She saw us, raged. You ruined everything, pathetic old woman. Daniel flinched, but I stood firm. Police dragged her away, still screaming. As dawn broke, relief washed over me. But what secrets lingered? Would Daniel heal? And what of the boat's return? If this twist shocked you, drop a heart in comments. What would you say to Isabella? Fiona? One word. Subscribe and bell for Chapter 3. More revelations await. Like if it gripped you, share if it resonates. The story's far from over. As the first light of dawn crept over the Seattle skyline, painting the airport terminal in hues of pink and gold, I stood there watching the chaos unfold, like a scene from a bad dream I couldn't wake from. Fiona Grant, Isabella, Elena, whatever mask she wore, thrashed against the officers, her perfect facade shattered into something feral and ugly. Her screams echoed through the concourse, drawing stares from early travelers, but all I could feel was a numb relief mixed with the ache of betrayal. Can you picture it? The woman who'd slithered into our lives, now exposed in handcuffs, her venom finally bared for all to see. If you've ever witnessed justice catch up to a deceiver, you know that bitter satisfaction and the hollow it leaves behind. This is Eleanor Thompson, wrapping up my story in Chapter 3, the final piece where wounds begin to mend, but scars remain. Stay with me to the end. Healing doesn't come easy, but it's worth the fight. The detectives didn't waste time. As Fiona kicked and spat, they pried open her abandoned suitcases right there on the polished floor, clothes tumbling out of one, but the other? Stacks of cash, rubber-banded in neat bundles, totaling $42,000. Tucked beneath, a fake passport under yet another alias, Sophia Klein, and a slim hard drive that Laura later told me held encrypted files, ledgers of her scams, victim profiles, even draft emails for her next mark. "Explain this," one detective said, holding up the passport. Fiona just snarled, her eyes locking on Daniel and me from across the way. That's when the rage boiled over. She went still for a split second, spotting us behind the column. Daniel pale as a ghost, my hand on his arm for support. Then, like a switch flipped, she lunged, the officers straining to hold her. "You!" she shrieked, voice raw and echoing. "You pathetic fool, Daniel. And you meddling old hag. This was my play, my score. 2 years wasted on your sorry family." Spittle flew as she twisted. "I should have finished you off like the others. Weak, all of you. Just like your dead husband said you'd be." Daniel flinched, his grip tightening on my sleeve, but I stood firm, meeting her glare. The pain of her words stung, a final twist of the knife, but seeing her unmasked, it fueled something fierce in me. Arthur's preparations had led to this, his hidden evidence, his allies like Harold and Laura. As they dragged her through a security door, her threats fading into muffled curses, the terminal buzzed back to life. But for us, the storm was breaking. Weeks blurred into a haze of statements and court dates. The police cracked that hard drive, uncovering evidence of 4 prior victims beyond Victor and Marcus, women and men across states, families gutted by her schemes. Fiona pled guilty to a slew of charges: fraud, identity theft, forgery. The prosecutor pushed hard. She got 10 years in federal prison, no parole for at least 7. Victor and Marcus's cases reopened with the new data. Some funds traced, civil suits pending. For Daniel, the marriage was annulled in a quiet hearing, never valid under a stolen name. Most of the $28,000 debt vanished, fraud claims approved by the banks. But the emotional toll? That lingered like fog over the lake. 2 weeks after the arrest, Daniel showed up at my door with a duffel bag and red-rimmed eyes. "Mom, can I stay? Just for a bit?" "Of course," I said, pulling him into a hug. He took his old room upstairs, the one with faded posters from his college days, shelves of dusty trophies from high school crew team. He started counseling right away, twice a week at a clinic downtown. Some sessions left him quiet, staring out at the water. Others, he'd talk till dawn about the red flags he'd ignored. I didn't push, just kept the coffee hot, the meals hearty, the space safe. Years teaching kids taught me patience. Healing's messy, non-linear. I handled the loose ends. That remaining $4,000 debt? I paid it off quietly, a check from Arthur's bonds. No fanfare, just done. Then, thinking of Victor's father dying heartbroken, Marcus's lost business, I sent each $8,000, anonymous notes attached, for the memories she stole, from someone who understands. It felt right, a ripple from Arthur's legacy. One rainy Saturday, a month in, I found Daniel in the boathouse. He sat on Arthur's old stool, logbook open in his lap, tears streaming. The empty slip stared back like an accusation. "Mom," he choked out, "I found this on the shelf. Dad's entries." I leaned in the doorway, letting him speak. He flipped pages, voice thick. One from years ago. Taught Danny the ropes today, knots, basic navigation. Kid's 14, hands steady as mine, listened like it mattered. Proud doesn't cover it. Another. Later. Danny helped with the hull sanding all afternoon. Barely spoke, didn't need to. These moments, they're gold. Daniel's shoulders shook. I barely remember, but I sold it. His boat. 15 years of work for $12,000. To impress her, a woman plotting to wreck us. Regret poured out. The last argument with Arthur, weeks before the heart attack. He questioned her. Our finances. I told him to butt out, let me live. Never said sorry. Chose her over him. Over you. My heart ached, that familiar throb. He knew, son. I pulled Arthur's letter from my pocket. The one about Daniel being a victim too. Read this. He did, tears smudging the ink. Arthur's words. Not blaming. Understanding her skill. Loving him fiercely. Daniel broke then, sobs racking him like waves. I held him, mother to son, in that space scented with wood and water. He forgave you, I whispered. Knew you'd come back. Healing crept in slow. Then, 2 months post-arrest, a rumble echoed down Willow Lane. I peered from the kitchen. The Chris Craft, gleaming in the driveway, Harold at the wheel. Daniel rushed down, eyes wide. We stepped out as Harold climbed down, grinning. Bringing her home, where she belongs. But, you bought it, Daniel stammered. Harold shook his head. Never mine to keep. Arthur built this for family. You too. Worth more than cash. He handed me the keys. He'd want you learning her, Danny. Together. We opened the boathouse, Harold backing her in seamlessly. The slip filled. Oil stain hidden. Scents right again. Over coffee, he hugged us goodbye. Arthur'd be proud. You stopped her, protected each other. Daniel touched the hull reverently. I don't deserve this. Arthur thought you did, I said. That's enough. We started small, Sundays in the boathouse, logbook guiding us, checking varnish, oiling fittings, testing lines. Daniel's hands grew sure, echoes of Arthur in every motion. Laughter returned, tentative at first, then real. 4 months later, a crisp fall morning, I felt ready. Keys in hand, I turned to Daniel. Time. We boarded, me at the helm, leather seat familiar, wheel worn from Arthur's grip. Engine purred to life, a deep rumble vibrating through us. I eased her out, lake sparkling under sun. Daniel beside me, wind tousling his hair. We sailed the sound. No rush, just gentle waves, passing familiar shores. The old park where we'd picnicked. The cove Arthur loved. Dad'd be grinning ear to ear. Daniel laughed. First real one in months. He taught me on our old dinghy, I recalled. Stalled the motor thrice, never lost patience. We reminisced. Arthur's jokes, family trips, dreams unrealized. The boat handled like a dream, 15 years paying off in every turn. Back home, slipping her in, the house felt different. Not empty, but healing. The boathouse full, Arthur's tools waiting, logbook open. His preparations, evidence, bonds, promises, still shielded us. I wasn't alone. Never had been. Reflecting now, forgiveness wasn't easy. Daniel's mistake cut deep, but seeing him rebuild? Love won. Could you forgive your child for selling a piece of your heart? If so, how? If this tale touched you, drop a period in comments. Let me know you're here. Share one thought. Forgive or not. Hit subscribe and bell for more stories that hit home. Like if it moved you, share if it resonates. Thanks for joining my journey. Remember, even in darkness, light finds a way.